one other pick before we get to Dees. Neera Tanden, who folks might know from Twitter.
I don't, because she blocked me.
She is been chosen to run the Office of Management and Budget. Now, in the past, Neera Tanden, and you can see this video online, has, particularly during the Obama administration, she was pushing this line of having to look at basically the grand bargain, which was we're going to cut Social Security, we're going to cut Medicare, we're going to cut Medicaid, and we'll get tax increases. Now, I think Neera Tanden, and I have been critical of her in the past, without a doubt, like as recently as, 12 hours ago on Twitter, myself, much to the chagrin. Some of it was like, I just made a sort of a funny observation.
Yeah. Well,
Neera Tanden, let's just get rid of the sort of the petty stuff first. She is one of, and look, this is not an ideological thing, because I have this feeling for a lot of people who I see on Twitter. But on Twitter, she's a little bit unhinged.
And apparently it was reported she might have been abusive towards Faz Shakur and other people in her workplace, and she's aggressively combative with the left, specifically the Bernie Sanders wing. I mean, to me, what bothers me about this pick is not that ideologically Tanden is some deficit hawk who's going to, push for austerity or whatever and budget like a Republican. I mean, she's better than some of the worst people that were apparently being considered for this position. Ideologically, I guess, but it shows to me that Biden is either trying to send a message to the left with this, because there's no one more vocally aggressive and combative with the left than Tanden, or he's that oblivious, which I kind of tend to think it's the latter, because they're so steeped in DC groupthink and so dismissive of the Bernie wing of the party that they're not paying attention to how Tanden has become this symbol for anti-leftism on the internet. But why reward her? I mean,
well, I'll tell you, this is my sense of that. First off, so I tweeted out something just making a joke about how
you're not allowed to do that.
She had tweeted more than Donald Trump. And the response was quite virulent. I'm more concerned about her past talking about cutting Social Security and Medicare. But with that said, I think certainly OMB has generally been where the worst of the worst, sort of like CFO-ish type of person would be in there and inhibit the ambitions of the White House. I don't think she'll do that. I think she's a soldier. And I think that she is going to help with the Biden agenda. If we can get the Biden agenda to be anti-austerity, and I don't think that OMB is going to be a problem. I think that your assessment of like, they knew who she was. Mm-hmm. And I think this was, I would much rather have someone who performatively has been highly dismissive of the left, disrespectful to people, attacking, than someone who's going to go in who nobody's heard of before. They don't have a Twitter account, but they're going to go in there and they're going to push pro-austerity policies.
Sure. I mean, but she didn't want the Clinton campaign to push for $15 minimum wage.
Without a doubt.
She was in favor of the exact cuts that you're talking about. I mean, she was central to the racist attack on Obama from the Clinton campaign in 2008. She has a terrible record. So I don't know how much worse you can get, to be honest.
Well, no, but there are worse.
You can get worse.
You can get worse. You can definitely get worse. If you look at the people who have been in that position in the past, you can certainly get worse. And in fact, there is, but again, like, let's make a distinction between someone is an a-hole on Twitter, which I certainly have at times been, but, and what they're going to do in the job. And on some level, if the sell was like, we're going to stick it to the left by putting someone that people on Twitter don't like, as opposed to we're going to stick it to the left because we're going to put in Bruce Reed, who was one of the founding members of the DLC, who has an ideological I just don't think that Neera Tanden has that much of an ideology as much
Certainly.
that is that strong, as opposed to a Bruce Reed who has an ideological, like sort of deep-seated love affair with austerity.
Yes.
And a deep-seated desire to cut Social Security and Medicare. And that is great. And here's the reality is, I don't know if Neera Tanden is going to, because she's so closely associated with the sort of the same type of activity, not so much her attack on the lefts, but like her being a Twitter warrior, is going to pass Senate confirmation, in which case we could end up with a Bruce Reed.
Again, though, it's she's also representative of this think tank corruption in D.C. I mean, I understand your point, and I agree with it that Reed would have been a worse pick. But she's been at the center of the Democratic swamp for decades at this point. And so I don't like what that reinforces as well. Yes. And it makes her prime exactly for what you're saying.
This is
for a tough confirmation hearing if Biden even tries to go that route.
Well, this is the milieu, as it were, of Democrats that we're got. I mean, established Democrats who have largely been in the system, as it were, whether they were hiding out at West X, that a consultant firm essentially waiting for a potential Biden administration, or they were at CAP, which was, at one point considered the Clinton administration in exile. This is the milieu. And so on a narrowly tailored way, it could be worse, and it still could be worse. I don't know who the second choice is if she doesn't get confirmed.